First off, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to the Public Works Podcast. It means a lot. I'm here just trying to help everybody tell their story in the space. Also, I am looking for more interviewees. So if you are that person, or if you know somebody who needs to tell their story just so a youngster can hear it and be attracted to the industry, please reach out to me. Click the link below and we'll get you set up for an interview. Again, if you want to be on the Public Works Podcast, or if you know somebody that needs to be on the Public Works Podcast, tag them in the comments below. Last but not least, if you're trying to figure out what Vitendo Training Solution is, I'll explain it to you in the most simplified way. If you've ever been on YouTube and watched a video on how to operate a piece of equipment that you own, or how to fix a piece of equipment that you own, that is what we come out and do for your city or for your department. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Looking forward to talking to you soon. Now enjoy the show. Thank you.
Welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, got a real treat for you. His name is Jeremy Saenz. He is the National Sales and Marketing Manager for XTIRPA. Jeremy, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on, Joseph. I've been looking forward to this since we talked.
Sure. So you got it on your shirt. I just told everybody what the name of your company is, XTIRPA. I know it deals with safety. I know it deals with keeping our blue-collar workers, our public works guys, our utility workers safe. So go into what XTIRPA does and what problem you guys are solving.
Okay, it's interesting. The name of the company is Innova, but the product is XTIRPA. Like I tell everyone, when you drive a Corvette, you don't say you drive a Chevrolet Corvette, you just drive a Corvette. XTIRPA is well known, and we are, and I say this in all humility, I'm a sales guy, I'm not an engineer, but we are the Corvette of our industry. What we do is we manufacture, everything's manufactured in Quebec. We make the finest confined space rescue equipment on the market. And so that's the long and short of it. We don't do tripods. Everything we do is very innovative. We've got a great engineering, very creative engineering team that is constantly innovating for different confined spaces. So that's what we do.
Sure. Okay. So we're talking confined space rescue. And there's a couple components to that. So confined space, let's tell the listeners who might not know what confined space is, and then we'll talk about the rescue aspect of it. So go ahead and tell us what confined space is and why you need, certain things like XTIRPA to be able to rescue somebody in a confined space.
Okay, let's see. Let me look. I've got it listed out of what the confined space is, but I can never keep it all in my head because I'll always forget one. A confined space, this is defined by OSHA, is contains or has the potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere. Contains a material that has potential to engulf an entrant, has walls that converge inward or floors that slope downward and taper into a smaller area that could trap or asphyxiate an entrant, and it contains any other recognized serious safety or health hazards, such as unguarded machinery, exposed live wires, or heat stress. That's the long and short.
Yeah. Gotcha. And give us a sense of the rescue aspect. Let's say somebody falls in a confined space. They get stuck, they're suffocating, or they have an injury down in a confined space. What's the usual, you say you don't make tripods, what's the industry standard to rescue somebody in a confined space? And then what makes XTIRPA different?
Well, the standard for decades now has been the tripod. It's tried and true. It's old technology. It's the record player technology. But as industries have grown across the United States, as even wastewater treatment plants, food processing plants, chemical plants, oil and gas plants, we also serve those industries. A lot of times the tripod just doesn't work. Tripod's great if you've got a flat surface and you're going down into one hole. But when you get into large or even small manufacturing facilities, the tripod's just not going to work. So what we do is create, design, and build. It's mainly different davit arms with different attachments to go into tanks, over walls, into wet wells, all sorts of, like I tell everyone, hey, look for a hole and we probably have a solution for it. Our catalog's 155 pages. So we have 6 or 7 different davit arms. We have different attachments, just a plethora of options for your confined space needs.
Wow. Good stuff. So let's go into the origin story of Jeremy. I know you weren't 14, 13 years old thinking about confined space and rescue and davit arms and all that. So what was your background like? And then what led you to this company and to this industry?
It was just simply financial survival. In 2013, I graduated graduate school. When the economy went bad, I said, I'll take a couple years off. I'll go to graduate school and I'll get some more professional tools in my toolbox. And I'll go into what I really wanted to do was to go into strategic communications, public relations in the public policy field. Not really into politics. I was more into, let's break down see what this policy really says. I don't care what a politician says. I want to see what the law says and what the regulation says. That was really more of interest to me than politics. So they sort of intertwine. And after grad school, I had trouble finding a job, and I met a guy named Todd Sharp. Todd Sharp, I met him through my brother-in-law. Todd Sharp is now the vice president of sales for North America for Safeguard Industries. At the time, he was the head of sales for America for Saenz. And we had gotten to know each other and had a few good conversations. And we took a liking to each other. And a few months later, I was still looking for a job, and he called me up. And his first question was, "Here, you're looking for a job?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he said, "What do you know about fall protection?" And I had literally never put those two words together. And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Well, do you think you can sell it?" And I said, "Was it good? And will you train me?" And he said, "Yes to both." And I said, "If I believe that you train me, I can sell it, but I've got to believe in it." And frankly, I didn't want the job. I wanted to go back to DC. But we went to Chick-fil-A one morning, and he told me about the job, and he said, "It's a company car, it's a salary, it's health and dental benefits." I was like, "That's all I need to know." And then he said, "And then you have to move to the Midwest." And I'd never lived in the Midwest. I didn't want to go. All I knew it was cold. And I was like, "Oh, and I guess I got to go." I went up to the Midwest, moved to Indianapolis, and my first business trip for Spanset, I went to the NSC in Chicago. So Todd's walking me around, and none of this stuff makes sense to me. All the harnesses look the same. I don't know what an SRL is. It really looked boring to me, to be honest with you. And I thought, this is my lot in life. I'm going to sell fall protection, whatever that is, just make the best of it. And then he took me to the XTIRPA booth, and we started talking to Martin, who's the owner, who I work for now. And he said, "I might as well tell you now, you're going to be the lead guy for the United States for XTIRPA, so you better get to know these guys, and you better get to know this product." And I thought, whatever. And so I just needed a job. And the more I got into it, I remember I walked over and I picked up a davit arm. And our davit arm, everything's made from aircraft aluminum, but it looks like it's steel. You can't tell the difference when you're just looking at it. I thought, man, that's going to be 200 pounds. And I picked up this davit arm. It's 36 pounds. And I thought to myself, I don't know what this is, but I can sell it. This is cool. And that just kind of became my journey. And I started to travel around the Midwest. And I would go to every wastewater treatment plant in every small town in Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. And I would just knock on their doors and say, "Hey, you got 10 minutes? And I'd show them the davit arms. I'd show them our barricade system. And I started to see, being new in the industry, not really knowing what was out there, trying to understand the competition. And then all of a sudden I started to realize guys get excited about this stuff. And it's hard to get excited about stuff in our industries. It's a great industry, but it's not sexy. And also, this got a lot more attention than anything else out there. I thought, this is a lot of fun. I started to see really the opportunities to really improve the safety of municipalities and other industries. And I saw the value that it brought to them, and that really got me excited. And that was 10 years ago. And about 6.5 years ago, I got a call from the owner of XTIRPA, Martin. And he said, "Hey, we like you. You like the product. You like us. You want to be our national sales manager?" So that was it. I said yes. Fortunately, the last two jobs, it hasn't really been an interview process. First job was I got offered a job over a coffee and a biscuit at Chick-fil-A. And the second one, I just got a phone call, said, "Hey, come work for us." So it's been a great industry. Yeah, this is the most fun I've ever had. You never think of life. Very rarely life works out for any of us the way we think that it's going to. But this is better than my life ever could have been. I have the privilege to represent the best product in the world, in the largest economy in the world. And to wake up every day knowing that you have that gives you confidence. And when you can develop a good reputation through work and integrity, you can have a pretty nice life. It's incredible.
I wanted to touch on something you said back in there. You say you didn't know anything about the industry, anything about safety or fall protection, any of that. And I think what the power in that is that you actually said yes to the opportunity. And I've been to the trade shows before. You walk in these big old arenas, and it's just so much stuff. And when you're new to the industry, like I was 5 years ago, you're like, man, what's the difference between this and that? And who cares? But once
Right.
you start to peel back the layers, oh, there's different applications, different machines that work for each different application. But I think
Right.
it's cool that you said yes to the opportunity just because you felt like, hey, you can sell it and then you will be trained for it. I think that's huge. And a lot of youngsters need to hear that, is that don't be afraid to say yes, because you will learn all the intricacies. And you're talking about the davit arms and how much it weighs and the different harness. Like, you'll learn it. You'll learn it. Just have a can-do attitude. Get into it. Say yes to it, and you'll actually learn it. And it's once you learn it, like nobody can take it from you. That's where like you'll probably the skill set, the brains you have now, nobody can take that from it. And you can always succeed or find work in this industry because it's ingrained in there. I think that's a beautiful thing.
It's another thing I love about this industry is I've been in sales for a long time before I got in, and I had been in positions. I was a police officer for 7 years while I was working my way through college, and I've been in the sales. And I left police work and went into sales, and I had been in different industries where you felt like a square peg in a round hole, and it just didn't fit right. It was a good job, but the culture wasn't right. Maybe you were with a company that wasn't a good fit for you. But what I've really found in the fall protection industry and the safety industry, for lack of a better term, it's a lot of blue collar, college educated guys. It's the kind of guys that I relate to. I was, not to turn it into me, but I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 as an enlisted man, and then I became a police officer and worked my way through college. And I was always around guys that were trying to improve themselves, maybe earning their degree and things like that. But you're in a sort of blue collar environment. That's really where I feel like that I fit best. I feel more comfortable around those guys. I'd been in the medical sales industry for a while, and man, that just wasn't me. And I don't know why, it just wasn't. But I've really found my home in this industry. I love it, and man, I sure hope I never leave.
Sure. And selling safety, it's a whole different thing than selling like a feature benefit. And what would you say is the average, the calls that come to you? Is it somebody being proactive before an accident happens? Or is it somebody after the accident happens and thinking, oh shoot, that tripod didn't work. Maybe I should look at a better way for confined space rescue?
Mhm. It's a mix of both. For municipalities, a lot of times they'll have the money, they'll get a money through a grant. They want to upgrade their equipment. Sometimes it's companies will get a very conscientious corporate safety officer who says, we're going to change the culture here. Unfortunately, there are a lot of companies that take safety seriously after someone's been injured. And so unfortunately, we get calls and there's a sense of urgency to do a site visit or to evaluate their confined spaces, and it's because someone's been injured. And so it's a mix of both, or it's a mix of a few different things. But those are always the ones that you hate to hear. Or
Yeah.
you go out and you'll see the confined space, and it'll show you where someone was injured because they couldn't retrieve them, and they'll say, we didn't know there was anything. And also, page 37, we've got 18 on the shelf right now, and we can get you handled. I think it's really great that with social media like LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that, the industry is now able to, instead of them having to go out and find new equipment, all they have to do is log on to LinkedIn and see what's out there. I think things are changing very quickly in the United States, especially now. We went back to earlier, tripod has always been the traditional confined space rescue system, but a lot of times that just won't work in a lot of different spaces. And now when people are looking, we can outfit them. I won't say everything. Every once in a while, I'll see something that sort of throws me. Like, I don't think we have anything for that. But about 98% of the time, everything we have is an off-the-shelf solution. What we really are doing is we have retrofitted or created equipment that retrofits a flawed design. A lot of engineers, architects, they are not versed at all in confined space rescue systems. So they'll build a facility and they're not educated to say what confined space equipment is going to be needed here to make a safe environment. So a lot of times we're working around those. And I don't blame architects. It's just that's not what they think about when they build. That's not the way they're educated. So a lot of times we're working around an imperfect design.
It's interesting. I never thought about, when I'm designing a wastewater treatment facility, I need to make it suitable for fall for confined space rescue. Who
Right.
thinks of that? But you do. I love it.
Exactly. So what's great, especially for wastewater treatment plants and those municipalities, there's not, and it's a very good, they're all designed very well. So they have not had to make a lot of changes. And so everything we have for any standard wastewater treatment plant, and I say standard, they're all pretty much standard. I haven't been really thrown by one yet, fingers crossed. But everything we have can outfit any wastewater treatment plant that I've seen so far. In 10 years, I haven't really been thrown.
Gosh, you say in 10 years you haven't really been thrown, but how do you stay up with what's new, with what's innovative out there? What's your personal and professional development regimen like?
It's what I travel about 3 to 4 days a week, 3 to 4 weeks out of the month. So a lot of my personal development is site visits. And so a lot of times it's just being out on site and being able to see, for example, I've been to a resort, and so their wash machines were actually confined spaces. Instead of a wash machine where we put the stuff in, it was a long tube, and they had 8 different hatches. So in case the sheets got caught, they could get in there and get the sheets out, so get them from untangled so the machines could still run. You don't learn that in professional training. You just have to learn it on site. Keeping up with the new OSHA standards and things like that, keeping up with ANSI. A lot of I don't keep up with that. The engineers do, and so they pass that on to us. So it's a real team effort. Their attitude is get out there and sell, and we'll tell you what you need to know. So when you need to know it. So
what would you say to somebody coming into the industry, like yourself, how you got into it, Chick-fil-A lunch, and then you stepped into a full board from there? What would you say to somebody coming out of college or like, hey, I want to get into the safety industry? Where would you say they start to find knowledge, to find the information, to get competent at it?
it's interesting you say that. I don't think anyone gets out of college and says, I'm going to go sell confined space rescue equipment or safety equipment. You fall into it somehow. I've got a very good friend of mine who just got out of the Marine Corps. He graduated from college and then actually enlisted in the Marine Corps. Didn't go in as an officer, went as an enlisted man, got out a few months ago, and was working as a government contractor. And he called me up and said, hey, man, I think I want to get into sales. And I asked him why. And the one thing I didn't want to hear is because you can make a lot of money. What I wanted to hear, that he really wanted to talk, I wanted to hear something besides that. And and he's a good people person. He said, I want to get out. I want to talk about things that I believe in. What I'm doing now is nice, but he just felt like a kind of a corporate drone. And so I looked at his website, I looked at his resume, and it was very Marine Corps. Okay. You could read what he had done and didn't really translate. So we civilianized his resume, and I put it out there on LinkedIn, and just said, and I've got a lot of followers and people I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, here's a great guy. He's solid. I give him my personal recommendation, which means something to some people. Some people it doesn't, they don't care. But United Rentals called it within 3 days. And he went through the hiring process, and now he's in the United Rental sales training program, and he's incredibly excited about it. I think when you're right out of college, is just be open. I'm a prime example of I'm the reluctant fall protection salesman, and it's been the best thing I've ever done in my life. Be open to it. Look at the benefits of when you're in this industry. No one I know is at a cubicle every day. No one's in an office. Everyone is expected to be out there, be self-motivated, look for those opportunities, and really make the future that you want for yourself. And I think if someone has that sort of motivation to do that, if they have it in, I want to word this carefully, Joe. I believe if you're going to be a sales professional, you truly do have to care about people. You can't care about the next commission check or the next bonus, because if you do that, you're not going to look out for your customers, you're going to look out for yourself. And so if you truly do care about people, and you are willing to be, or not only willing, but if you're excited about being trained and to learn the sales process and the importance of developing relationships, having integrity. Some people say, and I've heard this before, just have an ethical system for yourself where you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of every day. No, I don't believe in that at all. I believe you reach for the highest moral plane and be honest at all times, even if being honest in that moment costs you a sale. you'll develop a reputation over time that you are a person to be trusted. If you're self-motivated, if you have high integrity, if you want to learn, I think this would be a great field for anyone. Once again, being outside all the time, seeing something different. I've been to aquariums, I've been to amusement parks, I've been to food processing facilities, I've been to chemical plants, places that I never thought I would get to go. And basically, I go on a field trip every week and see how things are made. And I get to see great people. As an example, I was at a large university in California recently, and my nephew goes to that university, and I don't get to see him very much. So I sent him a text message, "Hey man, I'm gonna be on campus. This is where I'll be. Come see me." And he showed up, and it was funny because I started to get teared up. So I don't get to see him very much. He's a junior in college. I'm the old uncle, and I'm not as cool as I used to be.
Yeah.
And the guys could see that I was really excited. The guys I was making a sales pitch to could see that I was really excited to see him. And they said, "Take a few minutes. Don't worry about us. Go see your nephew." And I thought that was just, it meant the world to me because these guys are busy. They have things to do. And then my nephew got to sit around and see his uncle make his carnival barker routine. And so it was a lot of fun. But you make these great people in this industry, make a lot of great friends. I've been doing this long enough now that when I do go and I work with a distributor, MSA is our wholesaler in the United States. I'm working with MSA reps. I'm working with Grainger and Whitecap and Fastenal and others, smaller independent distributors. Ritz Safety is not a small independent distributor, but I could go on of the relationships that I've made in this industry. And it's exciting to be a part of it because there are just so many. You can have a great job with horrible people and you just hate going to work every day. And fortunately, we work in a great industry. I work for a great company and I get to go out and I get to work with great people every week. I can't think of a better life. And then the safety industry.
Yeah. And while you're out on your sales calls, I'm sure you're talking to the guys. What's a question that you wish they would all ask you, but they never quite get to? You never quite, like you say, "Hey, if they would just ask me this question. If I could give this answer, it'll make everything make sense for them." What would that question be?
That's a really great question. Gosh, that may be the next follow-up podcast. I'm not really sure. But what I would love to hear is, and this is probably going to my sales, is tell us what we need for this area. A lot of times what I found is the resistance that a sales rep will receive is there will be an end user that will have an idea in their head of what they want. That doesn't really exist, but we've got something better. And there's this mental block. We thought you could do something like this, or we imagine this sort of a device for confined space rescue. And so what doesn't really exist outside of your mind, it doesn't exist, but this is what we have, and it's actually better, and it's lighter, and it's more versatile. And because what they imagine in their head and what's really out there, because they can't get over that hump sometimes, it will slow down the process. And I've heard, well, we'll see what else is out there, and maybe you'll hear from us. Okay, if that were out there, I'm telling you, it's not out there. But sometimes that's a little bit frustrating because until they find that perfect solution, they're still sending guys down into holes every day. And you're putting someone at risk that you're telling someone, "Hey, you've got to go. If you want your job, you've got to go down there and you've got to clean out that tank, or you've got to do X, Y, Z in a confined space." And because somehow what you brought to them doesn't fit their head, they won't purchase it. And that can be frustrating, not just from a sales standpoint, but I've got to know these guys that are going down in that hole. I kind of worry about them now. And so that's thing. And I think everyone, especially because we're not selling equipment that is optional. If they're going down to confined space, there is a federal regulation. You need to outfit your crews with this equipment. And so sometimes it's kind of when people shrug their shoulders and say, "Yeah, we're interested in it. It's good. We're just not sure. We don't have the budget for it." Yeah, you do. You don't say that on site, but sometimes you want to say it.
So let's say XTIRPA gets pegged to put an ad on the Super Bowl. You get 30-second slot for the Super Bowl commercial. What message would you want to get across to the nation about what you guys do, what problem you're solving, and then also just confined space rescue? What would that commercial be about?
Our equipment is the best on the market. It will make your job more. It will make it easier, more efficient, and you will be more effective.
Love it. Love it. Short and sweet. I like it. Jeremy, I always like to offer an opportunity for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey, and then also offer a word of inspiration and motivation to your industry counterparts.
I want to thank Todd Sharp, who's the first guy who brought me into this industry. And once again, he's a vice president of sales in North America for Safeguard Industries. Ken Milligan, who was the president of Spanset at that time, he was a great mentor. We're pretty close to the same age. He's slightly older. He treated me like a younger brother, as did Todd. And Martin Dufour, who owns XTIRPA, to put a guy like me in charge of sales and marketing in the United States. And he really has given me free rein, and trust me with the decisions that I make is at times really overwhelming. I take that very seriously. And that faith and confidence that he has in me inspires me to work harder. You don't want to let somebody down because this is his company. It's how he feeds his family. We've got 52 employees, everyone from accountants to marketing people to machinists to welders to engineers. It's my job to make sure that I bring in the revenue to make this company profitable and that everyone have a job, myself and other sales reps. But so I really think those guys in the sales team, it's very familial. There's about eight of us across Europe, North America, and Latin America. And we all get along like a family, like brothers. Take that as you will. Sometimes you don't, but yeah, exactly. We've had some at times we have some very spirited meetings. I'll put it that way. But it's not an ego thing. It is what's best for the company, and that's really great because we're always fighting not for what's best for me. Or Luigi in Italy doesn't fight what's best for him, and we fight for what's best for the company. Sometimes we just had competing visions, but that's good. That's the way Martin wants it. If everybody's a yes man or everybody thinks the same, there's no change. There's no vision. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I want to thank all the guys for the sales team at MSA who do a great job as their wholesaler, and their one solution is a rep group that supplements their sales team. Those guys are fantastic to work with, and all the other reps out there across America that believe in XTIRPA and will market the product. Without them, I'm nothing. I'm one guy in the United States. And without those sales partners, we wouldn't do it. This country's too big. I could never crisscross America and be profitable or keep my sanity. Thank those guys also.
Sure. All right. Where can we find more about XTIRPA? Any final words before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's www.xtirpa.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Jeremy Saenz. My last name is spelled Saenz. If you follow the LinkedIn page, the XTIRPA LinkedIn page, that's the best place to find new product innovation, news. It will also show you products that we already have that you may not be aware of, and different accessories and different parts and pieces. So let's say our trailer hitch mount system. It goes in the back of a truck, but we've got bases for it, or temporary anchor points for concrete. We've got a C-clamp adapter for catwalks. A lot of people don't know that. When you go to the website, when you go to the LinkedIn page, you're going to see all the options that we have. Or call me, reach out to me. My policy is if I'm not on a plane and I'm not in a meeting and you call me, you don't go to voicemail. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I will pick up the phone.
Love it. Jeremy, thanks for hopping on the Public Works podcast. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear this message about confined space rescue and safety fall protection. This has been the Public Works podcast, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Joe.